All right, so I went and picked up the clamps, and I've just kind of dry fit everything here. I'll show you what I've got. I've just got everything kind of clamped in place, and so all I have to do is just loosely take about a quarter turn off the clamp, and I put the epoxy on, and then clamp it back in place. And then I'll come and center up these strings, and then as I move along, when I clamp epoxy and clamp each one, then I'll make sure that the string is centered on the stringer. And then once I do that, I'll actually remove the stringer. Since these will all be clamped in place and held, I'll remove the stringer, then I'll come back and I'll put epoxy in all of the front parts, where the notch is in the front of the false rib. I'll put epoxy in those, and then I'll reattach the stringer here. All right, so I've got some epoxy mixed up, and I'm ready to start gluing this together. So just a little quarter turn on this, back it off. And then we've got some epoxy on here. All right, some epoxy on here. Okay, now that that's in place, I'm just going to come in here and square this off. When I get it square, I'm going to make a mark. Now I can see exactly where that's got to go. And that looks great. Okay, on to the next one. Just made myself a little note right there that that's the tip, so I don't get this thing flipped around. All right, so I got all the epoxy on, and I got all of my, I can see all my marks really well. So now all I got to do is get this back in here. Let's start in front of me here. This might be easier. There we go. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, if I've got a rib that needs to be pushed over, like here's an example right here. It's like this one is staying nice and straight. This is staying all the way back. That's not a problem. In this particular case, it's got to be pushed over, so getting epoxy all over my camera frames. It's not unusual. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a clamp. I'm going to get a small clamp and a piece of wax paper. And I don't know if you can see, but it's got to be pushed this way so that it's on my line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just wrap a little piece of wax paper right here. And then I'm going to clamp this just so my clamp doesn't stick to the epoxy. I just need it to hold the spring of the thing that's going to hold it against it. So all I got to do is epoxy it right there and walk away. This one's good here. There's no problem here. This one is actually staying nice and straight, so I have no problem there. This one's staying nice and straight. It'll spring either way. It's nice, no problem there. The larger one is not moving, so that's good. This one here obviously needs to move quite a bit, so I'm going to do the same thing. Just going to grab a piece of wax paper. So my clamp doesn't stick to this. I'm going to slide it over right there. Now I've got lines on both sides, so I can actually see over here as well as over there. There, so now you can see the line on that side, and I know I'm good. So this one here is staying nice and straight, and all the way down we are all the way back against the back. That moved a little bit. Let me double check them all. All right, so one more thing I want to do here is just want to go back down the line, and I'm just going to double check that everything is still square. I'm kind of sighting down the leading edge. That looks really, really good. So nice and straight. The string line was a good idea. That that kept everything in its place, which is awesome. So just gonna grab a couple staples here real quick. And just gonna grab my square, and I'm just gonna double check that we're square here. That looks good. We're square here. That looks good. See, this one can squeeze over just a touch more. That one's good. Actually found one that needs a clamp, so paper. Let's check it again. All right, that's good there. All right, so that was a double check, triple check. Everything looks super good. I hope you enjoyed following that whole process. It's kind of one of the, it's just one of the little bit tedious, but one of those steps that makes you feel really good when you get on the other side of. So anyway, it looks super, and I couldn't be happier. So. Yeah. So anyway, thanks so much for following along. I do appreciate it. And if you're not a subscriber, I invite you to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss anything. And you know, as always, I'll catch you later.